You may have looked at the same number more than once today, even though you already knew it had not changed. A balance, a bill, a price, a payment date, a message you were hoping would arrive, a number written somewhere that seemed capable of changing the way your whole body felt. You may have checked, put the phone down, tried to move on, and then reached for it again. Not because you had forgotten, because some part of you was hoping that certainty might appear the second time. Perhaps you opened an account and stared at the figures long enough to feel as though looking harder could make them safer. Perhaps you closed it quickly because you did not want to feel what rose in you. Perhaps you told yourself you would deal with it tomorrow, only to keep dealing with it in your head all evening. The numbers may have followed you into ordinary moments. While making tea, while answering someone, while washing your hands, while sitting in traffic, while trying to listen to a conversation, while smiling at something that should have had your full attention. Your body could be in one place while your mind had already traveled 3 weeks ahead, searching for every possible expense before it had even arrived. You may know this strange kind of arithmetic. You add the same things again. You subtract them again. You imagine the best case, then the worst, then something in between, then the worst again, just to be prepared. And after all that calculating, there is no new information, only more tension. If any of this feels familiar, nothing is being asked of you right now. This is not another assignment about money. You are not being asked to become more disciplined in the next few minutes. You are not being told to make a plan before you are ready. You are not being handed another list of things you should have done earlier. You do not have to force gratitude over fear. You do not have to pretend that every financial concern is small. You do not have to act wealthy. You do not have to think perfect thoughts. You do not have to make yourself believe that everything is fine when some things may genuinely need attention. And you do not have to solve your entire future before you are allowed one calm moment in the present. That last one can be difficult. There are people who have learned to treat calm as something that must be earned. First, the bill is handled, then calm. First, everyone else is okay, then calm. First, there is enough saved, then calm. First, the answer comes, then calm. First, the uncertainty disappears, then calm. And because life rarely removes every uncertainty at once, calm keeps getting moved farther down the road. It becomes a reward for a life with no unanswered questions. A reward that never quite arrives. You may have become very good at functioning without it. You get things done. You remember what is due. You think ahead. You help people. You compare prices. You delay purchases. You plan around everyone else's needs. You keep an eye on what could go wrong. You may even appear responsible, composed, practical, and strong. Yet responsibility can quietly become vigilance. Planning can quietly become bracing. Care can quietly become fear wearing sensible clothes. And the most exhausting part is that nobody else always sees it. They may see you paying attention. You feel yourself scanning for danger. They may see you being careful. You feel yourself afraid to loosen your grip. They may tell you that you are organized. You know how much of that organization comes from trying to prevent a future version of yourself from ever being surprised. It can happen in very small moments. Someone suggests going somewhere, and before you decide whether you even want to go, your mind has already calculated transportation, food, the thing you might be expected to bring. What else is due this week, whether saying yes will make you regret it, and whether saying no will make you feel deprived. A family member mentions needing something. Your heart may respond before your budget has a chance to speak. Someone you love is worried. You begin looking for ways to fix it. Someone is short. You think about what you can move around. Someone has a problem. You start carrying the problem inside your own body. Sometimes the question is not, do I have enough for this? The deeper question is, am I allowed to keep enough for myself? That question can live quietly underneath generosity. It can hide underneath responsibility. It can hide underneath being the dependable one. You may have learned to feel more comfortable giving than keeping, more comfortable rescuing than receiving, more comfortable making sure everyone else has what they need than admitting that you also need steadiness. And when you finally spend something on yourself, even something ordinary, another feeling may arrive afterward. Guilt. Was that necessary? Could I have waited? Did I choose the wrong thing? Should I have saved it? What if something happens next week? A small purchase can become a courtroom in the mind. You become the person who made the decision, the person prosecuting it, the person defending it, and the judge deciding whether you are allowed to enjoy what you already bought. The money has been spent once. The mind spends the moment over and over. You may even return to old purchases in memory and criticize yourself with information you did not have at the time. You look backward with today's knowledge and punish yesterday's self for not knowing the future. This is one of the ways money anxiety keeps itself alive. It turns uncertainty into evidence against you. If something unexpected happened, you should have predicted it. If something cost more than expected, you should have known. If income changed, you should have prepared for every possibility. If you helped someone and later needed the money yourself, you should have been wiser. If you said no, you may wonder whether you were selfish. If you said yes, you may wonder whether you betrayed yourself. There can seem to be no answer that the anxious mind cannot question afterward. And because it questions every answer, you begin to distrust your own decisions. You may ask other people what they would do, not because their judgment is necessarily better, but because carrying full responsibility for a choice can feel heavy. You may wait too long to make decisions because certainty never becomes complete. You may make them too quickly because the tension of not knowing feels worse than the possibility of choosing poorly. Both can come from the same place. A nervous system that has started treating financial uncertainty like an emergency. That does not mean every financial concern is imaginary. Some bills are real. Some shortages are real. Some responsibilities are heavy. Some seasons ask much more of you than others. There may be practical changes that truly need to be made. There may be conversations you need to have. There may be professional advice that would help. There may be boundaries that are overdue. Calm does not erase reality. It changes the state from which you meet reality. That difference matters because panic can make everything feel equally urgent. The bill due tomorrow, the possible expense next month, the message you have not received, the things someone might ask you for, the purchase you already made, the problem that has not happened, the possibility you cannot control. All of it can arrive in the mind at once, as though every door in the house has opened and every voice is speaking from a different room. The body does not always separate actual danger from imagined financial catastrophe very well. It may respond before you have even completed the thought. A slight tightening in the stomach, a change in the breath, the jaw becoming firm, the shoulders lifting, your hand reaching for the phone, your mind opening another calculation, and then another. It can happen so quickly that you call it thinking. But sometimes it is not really thinking anymore. It is searching for a guarantee, searching for the one calculation that finally says nothing unexpected can happen, searching for the perfect amount that would make you immune to uncertainty, searching for a future in which no one needs anything, nothing breaks, prices never change, health never changes, work never changes, relationships never change, and you never have to make a difficult choice. The mind may call that safety, but no human life can provide that kind of guarantee. So the searching continues. This is where exhaustion enters. Not always because you have too little. Sometimes because your inner world has no closing time. You can stop working and still keep solving. You can finish the day and still keep projecting. You can lie down later and continue making financial decisions for a future that has not arrived. You can have enough for today and still feel the pressure of a year that has not happened. You can receive good news and immediately ask how long it will last. You can finally pay something off, and before the relief fully reaches you, move your fear to the next thing. Relief becomes very brief. Alertness becomes familiar. You may even distrust relief. If things feel good, part of you starts looking around. What am I missing? What did I forget? What is about to happen? Peace can feel suspicious when worry has been your way of staying prepared. This is important to understand. If you have lived with money anxiety for a long time, calm may not immediately feel safe. The mind can interpret calm as carelessness. If I relax, I will miss something. If I stop thinking about it, I will lose control. If I do not worry, I will become irresponsible. If I feel okay before everything is solved, I might make a mistake. So worry begins to feel useful. It becomes something you do for the people you love, something you do to prove that you care, something you do to stay ahead, something you do because the alternative seems like neglect. But worry and wisdom are not the same thing. They may sometimes arrive together, but they are not the same thing. Wisdom can look at a number and respond. Worry looks at the same number and builds 10 invisible futures around it. Wisdom can say, "This needs attention." Worry says, "Everything could collapse." Wisdom can say, "I need more information." Worry says, "I should already know." Wisdom can say, "I need help." Worry says, "I should have been able to prevent this." Wisdom can say, "Not today." Worry says, "What if saying no makes me a bad person?" Wisdom can protect. Worry can punish. And you may have confused the punishment with responsibility because nobody showed you another way. There may have been a time when being highly alert really did help you. You may have grown up around unpredictable money. You may have watched adults become tense when bills arrived. You may have heard arguments that began with numbers and ended with hurt. You may have learned that wanting something could create stress for someone else. You may have learned to make your needs smaller. You may have learned not to ask. You may have learned to check people's faces before bringing up anything that cost money. You may have learned that money could change the atmosphere of a room in seconds. One moment everyone was fine, then a number was mentioned. A payment, a debt, a loss, a request, and the room changed. Even if no one explained anything to you, your body may have learned. Money means tension. Money means be careful. Money means somebody may become angry. Money means someone may leave. Money means there may not be enough. Money means do not need too much. Money means prepare. Money means watch. Money means do not relax yet. A child does not need a financial education to learn financial fear. A child only needs to feel what happens in the room when money is mentioned, and later that child grows up. The room changes, the people change, the income changes, the circumstances change, but an old reaction can remain. Now the notification arrives on your phone instead of in an envelope. Now you are the adult making the decisions. Now nobody may be standing over you. Yet the old inner signal can still sound. Be careful. Do not get comfortable. Something could happen. If that signal lives in you, there is no shame in it. It was trying to help. It may have been built from things you saw, things you experienced, things you lost, things you had to survive, or simply years of uncertainty. The mind creates patterns around what seems important for survival. Money is connected to food, shelter, mobility, medical care, choices, responsibilities, and dignity in many parts of life. Of course, the mind pays attention to it. Of course, uncertainty around it can feel intense. The problem is not that you care. The problem begins when care becomes constant internal alarm. When every thought of money becomes a signal to tighten. When every expense becomes a moral judgment. When every future possibility is treated as a present emergency. When the mind never receives the message that in this exact moment it is allowed to stop running calculations. You do not need to blame yourself for this. Blame would only give the nervous system one more thing to carry. You do not need to go backward and find the exact day the pattern began. You do not need to identify who taught it to you. Understanding can help, but healing does not require a perfect investigation of your past. You can begin with something much smaller. You can begin by recognizing that the part of you that worries about money is not necessarily your enemy. It may be an exhausted guard. A guard who has worked too many shifts. A guard who learned that vigilance was love. A guard who no longer knows when to go home. It checks the door again. It checks the numbers again. It checks the future again. It keeps believing that one more round of worry will create the certainty the last round could not provide. And because certainty never becomes complete, the shift never ends. What if the answer is not to fire that guard? What if the answer is to teach it that protection can include rest? That responsibility can include a quiet mind. That being careful does not require being afraid every hour. That you can care deeply about money without making money the weather inside your body. There is a difference between responding to your life and living in permanent anticipation of its collapse. There is a difference between planning and rehearsing disaster. There is a difference between respecting money and fearing every movement of it. You are allowed to learn that difference slowly. No dramatic transformation is required here. You do not have to become a different person before this conversation ends. You do not have to suddenly love every number you see. You do not have to feel fearless. You do not have to declare that abundance is everywhere while a real bill is sitting on the table. You only need enough space to ask a quieter question. What happens inside me before I even decide what to do? That question can change more than another hour of anxious calculation, because there is often a moment before the action, a very small moment before you check again, before you agree to pay for something, before you say yes when you want to say no, before you buy something to soothe yourself, before you deny yourself something you actually need, before you send the message, before you avoid the message, before you open the bill, before you postpone opening it, before you lend, before you borrow, before you explain, before you defend, before you begin forecasting 6 months of your life from one difficult afternoon. There is a moment, and in that moment, your inner state matters. Not because your thoughts magically control every financial outcome. They do not. Not because calm guarantees money. It does not. Your inner state matters because it influences the way you meet what is actually in front of you. A frightened mind often wants immediate relief. A steadier mind can sometimes tolerate enough discomfort to make a clearer choice. A frightened mind may give too quickly to avoid guilt. A steadier mind can ask, "Can I truly afford this?" A frightened mind may avoid looking at numbers. A steadier mind can look without turning the number into a verdict on personal worth. A frightened mind may catastrophize one expense. A steadier mind can separate today from every imagined tomorrow. This is not about becoming passive. It is about becoming available to your own wisdom. You have probably had moments when you knew what the wise choice was and still felt pulled somewhere else by fear. You knew you needed to wait. Fear said, "Act now." You knew you needed to ask a question. Fear said, "Do not expose what you do not know." You knew you needed to say no. Fear said, "They will think differently of you." You knew you needed help. Fear said, "Handle it yourself." You knew you needed rest before making the decision. Fear said, "You have not earned rest yet." The anxious mind can be incredibly persuasive because it speaks in the language of urgency. Now, immediately, before it gets worse, before someone is disappointed, before you miss the chance, before you lose control. But urgency is not always truth. Sometimes it is only activation. Sometimes the most responsible thing you can do before deciding is become less frightened. Not numb, not detached, not careless, less frightened. Enough to see what is actually there. Enough to distinguish a fact from a prediction. Enough to hear your own boundary. Enough to recognize whether you are choosing from care or trying to escape discomfort. And if this sounds simple, you may already know that simple things can be difficult when they touch old survival patterns. You may understand all of this intellectually and still feel your stomach tighten tomorrow. That does not mean you failed. You may hear yourself say, "I know I should be calm," and then become anxious about being anxious. That only creates a second layer. Let that layer go. There is no prize for performing peace correctly. You are not being graded. A peaceful relationship with money is not created by scolding yourself whenever fear appears. It begins when fear can appear without becoming the only voice in the room. You can say, "I hear you." You can say, "This matters." You can say, "We will look at the real information." You can say, "We do not have to invent 10 more problems while we solve this one." You can become the person inside yourself who does not intensify every alarm. That may be new, especially if you are used to motivating yourself with pressure. Some people only act after frightening themselves. They wait until the tension becomes unbearable. Then they move. They call that productivity. But the body remembers the method. Next time there is something to handle, it creates fear again, because fear has become the starting signal. What if you no longer need panic to begin? What if concern can be enough? What if clarity can move you? What if self-respect can move you? What if a decision can come from a quiet understanding that something needs attention without first turning yourself into an emergency? This does not remove consequences from life. It removes unnecessary cruelty from the way you meet them. And there is another place where this matters: your relationship with other people's needs. You may be someone who can feel another person's discomfort very quickly. Someone mentions being short on money, and you feel it. Someone you love is struggling, and you begin searching your own resources. Someone is disappointed, and your first instinct is to fix it. You may call this kindness, and often it is. But kindness without boundaries can become depletion. Generosity without self-consultation can become resentment. Helping without checking your own capacity can leave you afraid later. Then the cycle begins. You give from pressure. You become anxious. You criticize yourself. You promise to be stricter. Someone needs something. Your heart opens again. You give from pressure. You become anxious again. The problem is not your heart. Your heart may be one of the most beautiful parts of you. The question is whether your heart has been taught that love always requires immediate self-sacrifice. Does someone else's need automatically outrank your own stability? Does saying no feel like withdrawing love? Does keeping something for yourself feel selfish even when keeping it is responsible? Does another person's disappointment feel more dangerous than your own depletion? These are tender questions. They deserve tenderness in return. You may have spent years being praised for giving more than was comfortable, for carrying more than was fair, for being the one who could always make something work. People can become accustomed to your capacity. You can become accustomed to it too, until you forget that capacity has edges. A lamp can give light, but it cannot give light from oil it does not have. There is an old kind of wisdom in that. Before someone carried a flame outward, before crossing a dark path or bringing light to another place, there was something that had to be tended first. The lamp in their own hands. The wick had to be ready. The oil had to be there. The flame had to be protected from the sudden rush of air. A person could be generous with light and still understand that the source needed care. There was no shame in tending it, no accusation of selfishness, no moral failure in checking whether the flame could survive the journey, because carrying a dying flame helps no one for very long. And somewhere along the way, you may have forgotten that the same principle can belong to you. You may have learned to run outward with whatever flame you had, to answer, to help, to pay, to fix, to soothe, to prepare, to carry, to make sure everyone else could see the road. Meanwhile, your own wick kept burning lower, not because you were weak, because you were giving light without returning often enough to the place where your own light is fed. This is where our conversation begins to change. Not with a promise that nothing difficult will happen, not with a demand that you stop caring about money, not with a fantasy that peace can control every outcome, with a smaller and wiser question. Before you carry your flame into every problem, every request, every imagined future, every number, every person you love, have you tended the light in your own hands? The light in your own hands may be the part you have been overlooking, not because you do not care for yourself, not because you do not know better, because attention naturally moves toward whatever appears most urgent. A bill feels urgent. A request feels urgent. A deadline feels urgent. Someone else's disappointment feels urgent. An unexpected expense feels urgent. The future feels urgent when you do not know what it will require from you. Your own inner steadiness rarely announces itself with that same force. It does not send a notification. It does not demand payment. It does not knock on the door. It can be neglected quietly. And because nothing dramatic happens in the first few minutes of neglect, you keep going. You solve one thing, then another, then another. You answer the message. You move the money. You make the plan. You change the plan. You calculate. You rearrange. You carry. From the outside, it may look like competence. Inside, the wick gets shorter. The old lamp teaches something that panic forgets. A flame is not strengthened by demanding more light from it. You do not stand over a small flame and say, "Burn harder." You tend what makes the burning possible. You check the wick. You make sure there is enough oil. You protect the flame from what would extinguish it. You give it the conditions in which it can remain steady. This is a very different relationship from force. Force says more effort, more thinking, more worrying, more predicting, more control. Tending asks a quieter question. What does this moment actually need? That question can feel almost too small if you are accustomed to living several months ahead in your mind. You may be thinking about a future expense before today's expense has even been handled. You may be worried about what could happen after something else that has not happened yet. Your mind may be carrying imaginary receipts from days that do not exist. The hearth brings you back to the room you are actually standing in. What is burning here? What needs tending here? What is real here? What belongs to today? This is not denial. It is accuracy. A worried mind often believes that thinking about every possible problem is a form of responsibility. But responsibility is not the same as mentally living through 20 possible futures. Sometimes responsibility is opening the real bill. Sometimes it is making the call. Sometimes it is saying no. Sometimes it is waiting for more information. Sometimes it is deciding that a problem belongs to next week and refusing to drag next week into this afternoon. The hearth does not need fuel for every winter that could ever come. It needs enough for the fire that is yours to tend now. This idea can be uncomfortable at first. The mind may say, "But what if I stop worrying and something happens?" Something can happen whether you worry or not. Worry is not an insurance policy. It is not a deposit placed against uncertainty. It does not purchase control over tomorrow. This does not make preparation useless. Preparation can be wise. Saving can be wise. Learning can be wise. Asking questions can be wise. Making a plan can be wise. But preparation and panic are different states. One organizes, the other consumes. One can look ahead, the other lives ahead. One gathers information, the other tries to eliminate uncertainty completely. One creates structure, the other keeps the body in alarm while calling that alarm responsibility. The difference may become clearer when you think about the lamp again. Imagine carrying it through a dark passage. If you are afraid the flame will go out, you could cup your hand around it. You could slow down. You could check the oil. You could choose a safer path. Those are responses. But imagine becoming so afraid of losing the flame that you start shaking the lamp, checking it every 2 seconds, opening it repeatedly, adjusting the wick again and again, moving faster because darkness frightens you. At some point, the panic designed to protect the flame begins disturbing it. This can happen with money. You can look so often that every small movement becomes emotional information. You can think so intensely that your ability to distinguish what matters becomes weaker. You can plan so far ahead that today's decisions become distorted by tomorrow's imagined catastrophe. You can become so afraid of making the wrong choice that you spend your energy before you spend a single dollar. Energy is part of this conversation too. Money is not the only resource you manage. Attention is a resource. Time is a resource. Sleep is a resource. Patience is a resource. Decision-making capacity is a resource. Emotional steadiness is a resource. Self-trust is a resource. When financial anxiety is high, these resources can be spent rapidly. A 5-minute problem becomes a 3-hour mental event. A conversation that has not happened gets rehearsed 15 times. A choice between two ordinary options becomes a referendum on your entire future. Your body pays for every imaginary meeting. Your attention pays for every repeated calculation. Your evening pays for tomorrow's uncertainty. And then you may say, I need more energy. Of course you do. Some of it has been burning in rooms you were never required to enter. The hearth asks you to become more discerning about where your flame goes. Not colder, not less generous, more discerning. There is a difference. You do not have to turn your heart into stone in order to protect yourself. You do not have to stop caring about other people in order to care for your own stability. You do not have to become suspicious, harsh, or closed. A protected flame is still a flame. It still gives warmth. It still gives light. Protection does not make it less generous. Protection is what lets generosity continue without destroying its source. This matters especially if you are used to measuring your goodness by how much you can carry. You may have learned that a good person helps, a good person gives, a good person finds a way. A good person does not make someone else uncomfortable by saying, I cannot do that. But goodness is not measured by depletion. Love is not proven by how empty you are willing to become. There are times when helping someone is beautiful. There are times when helping someone would place your own stability at risk. There are times when the most loving answer is yes. There are times when the honest answer is no. The hearth does not decide for you. It gives you a place from which to decide. That is the gift. When your flame is frantic, everything can look like an emergency. When the flame steadies, distinctions begin to return. This matters now. That can wait. This is mine. That belongs to someone else. I can help with part of this. I cannot carry all of this. I need more information. I need more time. I do not have to answer immediately. That sentence alone can restore a surprising amount of inner space. I do not have to answer immediately. You may have spent years believing that fast answers are kind answers. That immediate answers prove reliability. That hesitation disappoints people. But a thoughtful answer may protect both people better than a frightened yes. A calm no may contain more truth than an anxious promise. A delayed decision may be wiser than an immediate decision made only to stop discomfort. There are ways. Panic spends money before any transaction occurs. It spends your ability to choose. It spends your patience. It spends your confidence. It spends the quiet that could have helped you see another option. And then, after the choice is made, panic often demands a second payment. Regret. You replay what you did. You analyze what you should have done. You imagine how another decision might have changed everything. You ask whether you missed something obvious. You begin punishing yourself for being human inside a situation where complete information was never available. The flame bends again. This is why self-trust belongs at the hearth, not blind confidence, not pretending you always make perfect decisions, self. Self-trust means something more humane. It means believing that you can meet yourself after a decision too. You do not have to know that every choice will work out exactly as hoped. You can know that if something changes, you will respond. If new information comes, you will use it. If you make a mistake, you can learn. If you need help, you can seek it. If a plan needs to change, changing the plan does not mean you failed. This kind of trust removes a burden that no amount of money can completely remove. The burden of believing you must predict everything before it happens. No one can do that. Even people with resources encounter uncertainty. Even careful people encounter surprises. Even wise people make decisions they later revise. There is no amount of vigilance that can turn a human life into a perfectly controlled equation. The attempt itself can become very expensive. It can cost the present. You may know what it is like to sit in a perfectly ordinary moment and be absent from it because your mind is somewhere else. A meal is in front of you. Meal is in. You are thinking about next month. Someone you love is speaking. You are calculating. The sky is changing outside the window. You are replaying a purchase. There is music in the room. You are wondering what happens if something goes wrong. The current moment keeps offering itself. Financial fear keeps saying, later. Later, when everything is secure. Later, when there is more. Later, when you know. Later, when nobody needs anything. Later, when the next problem is solved. But life is not lived after uncertainty ends. Life is lived while uncertainty exists. This does not mean you must become comfortable with every unknown. It means you deserve access to your life before every unknown is resolved. The hearth exists in the present. Its warmth does not come from next month's firewood. Its light is here. This is the part no amount of future thinking can replace. You can prepare for tomorrow. You cannot live there. And every time you mentally move into tomorrow to escape today's uncertainty, you leave your own hearth unattended. This is why calm is not a luxury. It is not decoration. It is not something reserved for people who have no responsibilities. Calm can be a form of internal stewardship. It helps you remain in contact with what you actually know. It helps you hear the difference between fear and information. It can make room between a trigger and a response. It can help you recognize when old memories are speaking louder than current facts. It can help you see when shame has entered a practical decision. Calm can make room for choice. That is enough. It does not need to perform miracles. It does not need to promise an outcome. It does not have to attract anything magical to be valuable. A steadier inner state can already change the experience of the decision in front of you, and that matters. Suppose you receive a bill you did not expect. Panic may immediately leap toward the largest interpretation. I cannot handle this. Everything is becoming more expensive. What if another bill comes? What if this means I have to cancel something? What if this becomes a pattern? What if I am never ahead? One piece of paper becomes an entire future. Tending the hearth begins elsewhere. This is the bill. This is the amount. This is when it is due. What are my actual options? One question at a time. The facts remain. But the imagined avalanche is interrupted, or suppose someone asks you for financial help. Panic can move in more than one direction. It can say, you have to help or you are selfish. Or it can say, never help anyone because people will take advantage of you. Both are extremes. The hearth asks for truth. What can I give without harming my own stability? Do I want to give? Am I acting from love, guilt, fear, or pressure? Would another kind of help be more appropriate? Do I need time before answering? These questions are not cold. They are caring. They include you in the circle of care. You belong there. That may be one of the deepest changes in this entire conversation, including yourself. Not placing yourself above everyone, not placing yourself below everyone, including yourself. Your needs enter the room. Your limits enter the room. Your future enters the room. Your peace enters the room. Your financial reality enters the room. Your desire to help someone else can still sit there too. Nothing has to be thrown out. You are learning to hold more than one truth. I love you, and I cannot pay for this. I care, and I need time to think. I want this, and I choose to wait. I can afford this, and I still want to consider it. I made a choice I would make differently now, and I refuse to turn that into hatred toward myself. I am concerned, and I do not have to panic. That last one may be unfamiliar. Concern without panic. Many people have never been taught that option. They learned either not to care or to worry constantly. But there is a wide space between indifference and alarm. Wisdom lives there. Planning lives there. Boundaries live there. Patience lives there. Clear questions live there. Your hearth lives there. Think about how a fire is tended. You do not stare at it every second to prove you care. You check it. You respond when something changes. You add what is needed. You remove what is choking the flame. Then you let the fire do what fire does. There is trust in good tending, not passive trust, not neglect, a practical trust. I have checked what needs checking. I have done what belongs to this moment. I do not have to poke the coals every 30 seconds to prove that I am responsible. This is where money anxiety often asks for more than reality requires. Check again. Think again. Calculate again. Search again. Ask again. Rehearse again. Make sure. Make more sure. Become completely sure. But complete certainty does not arrive, so you keep touching the fire until you disturb what was beginning to settle. There are moments when the kindest thing you can say to your own mind is, "We have enough information for now, not forever, for now." That phrase respects both reality and your nervous system. For now, I know what is due. For now, I know what I can do. For now, I have asked the question. For now, I am waiting for the answer. For now, there is no decision to make. For now, this is handled. The mind may resist. It may say, "But what if?" You can answer, "If new information arrives, I will meet new information." You do not have to solve information that has not arrived. That is carrying empty lamps into rooms that do not exist. Bring your attention back. There is one flame, one pair of hands, one present moment. Your life becomes easier to meet when you stop demanding that these hands carry every future at once. This is not weakness. It is intelligent use of your inner resources. And there is another side to tending the hearth that is easy to miss. Receiving. Some people are far more comfortable carrying flame outward than receiving fuel inward. They know how to give. They know how to work. They know how to sacrifice. They know how to stretch. They know how to manage with less. But when support appears, something in them tightens. I should not need this. Someone else needs it more. I have to repay this immediately. I do not want to owe anyone. I should be able to handle it myself. Receiving can activate the same fears as spending, because receiving requires admitting that you are not separate from the human exchange of care. There are seasons when you give. There are seasons when you receive. There are seasons when both happen together. The lamp does not apologize for needing oil. Its need is not evidence of failure. It is part of how light works. Your needs are not an interruption of your worth. Needing support does not erase your strength. Needing rest does not cancel your responsibility. Needing advice does not prove incompetence. Needing more time does not make you difficult. A healthy hearth is not built by pretending it needs nothing. It is built by tending what is true. This is where abundance language can become unhelpful if it is used to silence reality. You do not need to call yourself abundant when you feel frightened. You do not need to deny what is in your account. You do not need to turn a hard season into a spiritual test. You do not need to smile at a problem you would rather solve. Your peace does not require dishonesty. In fact, peace becomes more trustworthy when it can sit beside tea. Ruth, This is difficult, and I can breathe. I am uncertain, and I can wait for information. I wish I had more, and I can care for what is here. I am disappointed, and I do not have to attack myself. I am scared, and fear does not have to make every decision. The hearth holds both, truth and tenderness, reality and steadiness, concern and breath, action and rest. This is the opposite of forcing yourself into positivity. Nothing is being pushed away. You are learning which part of you gets to lead. Fear may speak. It does not have to drive. Shame may speak. It does not have to decide. Urgency may speak. It does not automatically become a command. The old pattern says, if I feel fear, I must act from fear. The new possibility is, I can feel fear and still consult my wisdom. This changes the relationship. Money becomes less like a judge, less like a measure of whether you are doing life correctly, less like a score that determines whether you are worthy of rest. Money becomes information, a resource, a tool, something that moves through decisions, systems, work, obligations, exchange, opportunity, and limits. It still matters, but it no longer has to sit on the throne of your nervous system. A number is important. It is not your identity. A difficult month is important. It is not your entire future. A mistake is important. It is not your character. A delay is important. It is not a verdict. A financial boundary is important. It is not cruelty. The more clearly you separate the event from your identity, the steadier the flame becomes. You may have said things to yourself around money that you would never say to someone you loved. How could you be so stupid? You should have known. You always do this. You never get ahead. You cannot handle money. What is wrong with you? Those sentences do not improve financial skill. They create shame, and shame often makes practical attention harder. You avoid looking. You delay asking. You hide. You make choices to escape the feeling. Then you criticize yourself for those choices too. The hearth needs different language, not empty praise, respectful language. I wish I had made another choice. I can learn from this. I need to look at the numbers. I am nervous, and I can still look. I need more support. I need a boundary. I need to slow this decision down. I am not required to solve my whole life tonight. This is how tending sounds. It sounds less dramatic than panic. That may be why you have underestimated it. Panic is loud. Wisdom often speaks at normal volume. Fear repeats itself. Wisdom may say something once. You have to become quiet enough to hear it. And sometimes what wisdom says is very ordinary. Do not buy that today. Make the appointment. Ask what the fee includes. Read the document. Wait 24 hours. Tell them you cannot contribute this time. Cancel what you do not use. Stop checking until tomorrow. Eat first. Sleep before deciding. Call someone who understands this better. Write the real number down. Do one thing, then stop. There is great dignity in ordinary wisdom. It does not need to feel mystical. Your hearth is made from these small acts, not from one dramatic breakthrough. From the way you speak to yourself after opening the account, from the way you breathe before answering a request, from the way you include your own needs in a decision, from the way you stop a calculation when it has stopped being useful, from the way you let a solved problem remain solved instead of reopening it mentally, from the way you receive a good moment without immediately searching for the next threat. Little by little, the flame learns that it does not have to leap every time money is mentioned. Your body learns that a number can be seen without becoming a siren. Your mind learns that uncertainty can exist without requiring constant rehearsal, and you begin to discover something important. Calm is not the absence of responsibility. Calm can be the atmosphere in which responsibility becomes clearer. That is why tending your own hearth comes first. Not because no one else matters, because the quality of what you carry outward depends in part on what is happening at the source. If your yes comes from terror, it carries terror. If your no comes from panic, it may carry sharpness. If your decision comes from shame, shame remains attached to it. If your choice comes from steadiness, you have a better chance of recognizing what you actually mean. You deserve that chance. You deserve to know what your own voice sounds like without an alarm ringing over it. So there is a line I want to place near the hearth with you, not as a command, not as something you have to force yourself to believe, as a direction, as a way of returning. I tend my own light first, and I meet money with calm. You may feel resistance to that final word, calm. Some part of you may say, I cannot be calm about this. That is all right. Do not argue with that part. It may have spent years believing that calm means lowering your guard. It may believe calm is what happens after everything is safe. It may believe worry is the only reason you have survived difficult seasons. We are not taking anything away from it by force. We are introducing another possibility. I tend my own light first, and I meet money with calm. Not perfect calm, not permanent calm, not a performance. Enough calm to look, enough calm to ask, enough calm to wait, enough calm to choose, enough calm to hear the truth beneath the fear. Say it again, more gently. I tend my own light fur, and I meet money with calm. You do not have to know yet how fully you believe it. For now, let the words sit near the flame. Let them be something your mind does not have to solve, something your body does not have to prove. A lamp does not become steady because someone shouts at it. It becomes steady because at last someone tends the source. And tending the source may begin with something much less dramatic than you expected. You may have assumed that changing your relationship with money would require becoming fearless. It does not. Fear may still visit. The goal is not to build a life in which no uncomfortable thought ever enters. The goal is to stop handing every uncomfortable thought the keys to the house. There is a difference. You can feel uncertainty and remain in contact with yourself. You can feel disappointment and still speak respectfully to yourself. You can feel the pressure of a real financial problem without turning that problem into proof that you are failing at life. You can feel fear without feeding it every future you can imagine. That is tending. The old pattern may not like this. It may say, if I stop worrying, I will become careless. You can answer, I am not asking you to become careless. I am asking you to become clear. It may say, if I relax, I will forget something important. You can answer, I can write down what matters. I do not have to hold it in my body all day. It may say, if I am not afraid, I will not take this seriously. You can answer, I am capable of seriousness without suffering. That sentence may be worth sitting with. I am capable of seriousness without suffering. Many people were never shown that possibility. They watched responsibility arrive with tension. Important conversations happened with raised voices. Bills were opened with dread. Mistakes were punished. Questions were met with shame. Planning was done through fear. So seriousness and suffering became linked. If something mattered, you were supposed to worry about it. If you were calm, perhaps you were not trying hard enough. If you rested, perhaps you were avoiding something. If you enjoyed yourself while a problem still existed, perhaps you were being irresponsible. But a problem does not become more worthy of attention because you injure yourself while attending to it. A bill does not become more payable because you shame yourself. A decision does not become wiser because your heart is racing. A boundary does not become kinder because you delay it until resentment appears. You are allowed to bring a different atmosphere to important things. Steady, respectful, honest. That is enough. If the full affirmation still feels too far away, do not force it. You do not need to repeat words that your whole body is rejecting. There is another doorway. I am willing to meet money with a towel. It'll more calm. That may be easier. I am willing. Not I have mastered this. Not I never worry. Not I have complete trust. I am willing. There is humility in that sentence. It gives you somewhere to stand. You may not be ready to believe that every financial situation can be met calmly, but perhaps you are willing to find one moment in which calm enters sooner, one decision in which you wait before reacting, one request in which you check your own capacity before saying yes, one bill you open without insulting yourself, one mistake you examine without turning it into a character judgment, one evening in which you decide that enough thinking has been done for today. This is how an inner pattern changes, not always with a breakthrough, often with a different response repeated in ordinary moments. Fear rises. You do not attack it. You do not obey it automatically. You tend the lamp. You return to the facts. You ask what is actually needed. You choose from there. Then the next time arrives, and you practice again. There will be days when this comes easily. There will be days when the old reaction moves faster. On those days, the work is not ruined. You have not lost anything. A flame can bend and still remain lit. Wind does not mean failure. Movement does not mean failure. A difficult day does not erase what you have learned. You can come back. That may be one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself around money. Permission to come back. Instead of demanding that you never become anxious again, you learn how to return when anxiety appears. You return to your breath. You return to the actual number. You return to what is due now. You return to your boundary. You return to what you know. You return to the lamp in your own hands. This makes the whole process more human, and it keeps you from creating another impossible standard, because financial calm should never become another thing you use to judge yourself. You are not more evolved because you never worry. You are not less worthy because money frightens you sometimes. You are not spiritually failing because a hard month feels hard. You are not doing affirmations incorrectly because part of you still has questions. You are a person learning how to meet a charged part of life with more steadiness. That is enough. There is also something important that must be said clearly here. Peace is not the same as passivity. Calm does not mean remaining in a situation that is harming you. It does not mean ignoring unsafe conditions, coercion, abuse, exploitation, debt problems, legal concerns, medical needs, or financial realities that require practical attention. It does not mean letting someone repeatedly cross your boundaries because you want to appear loving. It does not mean replacing qualified medical, psychological, financial, or legal support with positive words. There are moments when the wisest expression of self-love is action. There are moments when it is leaving. There are moments when it is asking for help. There are moments when it is speaking with a trusted person, a supportive community, or a qualified professional who understands what you are facing. Seeking appropriate support is not a failure of inner strength. It can be an expression of it. The hearth is not a place where you hide from reality. It is where you gather enough of yourself to meet reality more clearly. A protected flame does not pretend the storm is not outside. It helps you see the door. It helps you see the path. It helps you see where you are standing. That is the role of peace here, not denial, orientation. You may notice how different that feels. You are not being told to close your eyes. You are being invited to see without letting fear become the entire field of vision. Sometimes that means the answer remains difficult. Calm does not guarantee that every decision becomes pleasant. You may still need to cut an expense. You may still need to say no. You may still need to admit that something is not working. You may still need to ask a difficult question. You may still need to change a plan you were attached to. You may still need to face disappointment. But there is dignity in meeting a hard truth without adding unnecessary self-cruelty. You can say, "This is not what I wanted," and still remain on your own side. You can say, "I need to change course," without calling yourself a failure. You can say, "I need help," without turning need into shame. You can say, "I cannot do this for someone else," without deciding that your boundary means you do not love them. This is where the lamp becomes more than an image. It becomes a practice. Before you carry flame outward, you check what is happening at the source. Before you answer, you check. Before you give, you check. Before you agree, you check. Before you spend from emotion, you check. Before you deny yourself from fear, you check. Before you rescue, you check. Before you catastrophize, you check. Not with suspicion, with care. What is my flame doing right now? Is it steady? Is it bending? Am I choosing because this is right or because I want this feeling to stop? That question can reveal a great deal. Sometimes you will discover that you genuinely want to help. Beautiful. Sometimes you will discover that you are afraid of someone's disappointment. That is different. Sometimes you will discover that you truly want the purchase. Sometimes you will discover that you are trying to soothe something money cannot soothe. Sometimes you will discover that you need to save. Sometimes you will discover that fear has become so rigid that you are refusing yourself something reasonable, even though the facts say you can afford it. The hearth does not always tell you to hold back. That is important. Tending yourself is not the same as withholding from life. A well-tended flame is not locked away. It is available. Warmth moves from it naturally. Light moves from it naturally. But there is no confusion about where the flame begins. The source is not sacrificed in order to prove generosity. That may be the part you have been waiting to understand. You may have thought your exhaustion came from not having enough strength. It may have come from carrying too much flame outward without returning to the source. You may have thought you needed to become better at helping everyone. Perhaps you need to become better at consulting yourself before you help. You may have thought you needed to become less sensitive. Perhaps sensitivity is not the problem. Perhaps the problem is that every feeling you detect in someone else becomes an instruction. You sense their worry. Instruction, fix it. You sense disappointment. Instruction, change your answer. You sense tension. Instruction, make it comfortable. You sense need. Instruction, give, but another person's feeling is not always your assignment. That distinction can take time to learn, especially if your identity has been built around being useful. the dependable one, the understanding one, the one who will find a way, the one who can manage, the one who does not need much. Those roles can become so familiar that receiving care feels almost unnatural. You may not even know what tending your own hearth means beyond emergency self-care. You may only rest when exhausted. You may only say no when angry. You may only ask for help when there is no other option. You may only spend on yourself after explaining why it was justified. You may only stop working when your body forces you. That is not tending. That is repair after depletion. Tending happens earlier, before the wick is gone, before resentment, before collapse, before the sharp no that appears because 10 quiet no's were ignored. Earlier. This is the new timing. You do not wait until you are empty to include yourself. You begin including yourself while there is still something to protect. That is how the primary loop closes. The wick did not need more pressure. It did not need to be shamed into burning brighter. It did not need to prove that it deserved oil. It needed tending. You needed tending. Not because you are fragile, because every living source requires care. You may have spent years trying to create safety by becoming more vigilant, more useful, more prepared, more available, more responsible. And some of those qualities may have helped you greatly. You do not need to reject them. The shift is subtler, prepared without being consumed, helpful without disappearing, responsible without punishing yourself, generous without abandoning your own limits, careful without living in fear. This is the middle path the anxious mind often forgets exists. It prefers extremes because extremes feel clear. Spend nothing. Give everything. Trust nobody. Help everybody. Never make mistakes. Predict every outcome. But life is rarely that simple. Wisdom is often found in proportion. Enough caution, enough openness, enough planning, enough flexibility, enough giving, enough keeping, enough attention, enough rest. The lamp teaches proportion. Too little oil and the flame weakens. Too much adjustment and you disturb it. Too much exposure and wind overwhelms it. Too much covering and it cannot breathe. Tending is responsive. You listen. You watch. You learn. You make small changes. This is how your relationship with money can become more responsive too. Instead of one rigid rule for every situation, you become more present. What does this moment ask? Not what did fear ask last year. Not what would impress someone else. Not what would prove that you are generous. Not what would prove that you are disciplined. What does this actual moment ask? That question brings you back into relationship with reality. And reality is often kinder than the mind's projections. Not always easy. Kinder because it is specific. This bill, this amount, this deadline, this conversation, this choice, this boundary. Specific things can be met. An imagined lifetime of possible disasters cannot. That is why panic feels endless. It does not stay with the specific. It expands. One problem becomes a pattern. One delay becomes a future. One unexpected expense becomes a prophecy. One mistake becomes an identity. One difficult month becomes forever. Bring it back. This, only this. There is power in refusing to let one moment speak for your entire life. A hard season is a season. A mistake is a mistake. A delay is a delay. A choice is a choice. You are larger than the financial moment you are currently standing in. Your worth does not rise and fall with a number. Your capacity to learn does not disappear because you are anxious. Your ability to make a different choice does not vanish because you made one you regret. Your dignity is not suspended until your finances look a certain way. These truths matter because shame narrows the field. When you feel ashamed, you tend to hide. When you hide, practical problems can become harder to face. When you approach yourself with respect, you are more likely to stay present long enough to respond. Respect is useful. Compassion is useful. Not because they make numbers magically change, because they help you remain available to the life in front of you. That is what the hearth is teaching. Stay available to yourself. Do not disappear the moment fear enters. Do not hand yourself over to panic. Do not leave your own inner room because a number frightened you. Remain present. That does not mean using the old forbidden promise of never leaving your side. It means something more specific to this fire. It means tending. You return to the wick. You return to the oil. You return to the flame. And somewhere in this, another question begins forming. What happens when the lamp no longer believes it must prove its value by burning itself empty? We will come back to that. For now, there is a promise to make. Not a promise about what money will do, not a promise that the future will obey you, a promise about how you intend to meet yourself. The words are simple. I tend my hearth before I carry flame. Let that be enough. I tend my hearth before I carry flame. Not after. Before. Before I rush to rescue. Before I answer from guilt. Before I spend to escape discomfort. Before I deny myself from fear. Before I make another person's urgency the center of my body. Before I turn a number into a verdict. Before I carry flame outward, I tend my hearth. This promise does not make you selfish. It makes your generosity more honest. It gives your yes a foundation. It gives your no a foundation. It gives your choices somewhere to come from. You can help from steadiness. You can give from clarity. You can keep from wisdom. You can wait without shame. You can receive without immediately trying to erase the debt of receiving. You can care without becoming consumed. I tend my hearth before I carry flame. There may be times when you forget. The vow is not broken because you remember late. Return. There may be times when you say yes too quickly. Return. There may be times when panic gets loud. Return. There may be times when you check the number again. Return. There may be times when guilt convinces you that your own needs should come last. Return. The hearth is still there. Nothing is asking you for perfection. The practice is the return. Over time, the space between fear and return may become shorter. What once took days may take hours. What took hours may take minutes. What took minutes may become one breath before a decision. That is how steadiness grows, quietly, without spectacle. You begin recognizing the sensation of leaving the hearth, the speed, the pressure, the sudden need to solve everything, and you know what to do. Come back to the source. What is real? What is mine? What is needed? What can wait? What would I choose if guilt were not answering for me? What would I choose if fear were allowed to speak but not decide? These questions become your tools. No superstition, no guarantee, just a steadier way of meeting the human realities of money. And slowly, your body may begin learning something new. A financial thought does not always mean dang. A request does not always require immediate sacrifice. A mistake does not always require punishment. A delay does not always require catastrophe. An uncertain future does not have to be lived today. You can remain here, at the hearth, with this moment, with the information you actually have, with the resources you actually have, with your own light included in the calculation. That last part matters. For a long time, you may have calculated everything except the cost to you. How much money? How much time? How much do they need? What is due? What can be moved, but not? What will this take from my peace? What will this take from my energy? What will this take from my ability to meet tomorrow clearly? Those are real costs too. They do not always appear on a receipt, but your life feels them. A decision can be financially possible and emotionally unwise. A favor can be affordable and still violate a boundary. An opportunity can look profitable and still cost too much in health, dignity, time, or stability. This is why tending your hearth must involve the whole life, not money alone. A human being is not a bank account with a nervous system attached. You are a whole person. Your decisions belong to that whole person. And now the vow sits beside you. I tend my hearth before I carry flame. You do not need to repeat it constantly. You do not need to turn it into another task. It can remain available. A sentence you return to when the old reflex rushes outward. A sentence that brings you home to the source. And as this vow settles, the next part of the practice becomes simpler, not larger, smaller. You begin learning how calm feels in the body before you ask it to guide a decision. Not perfect stillness, not emptiness. Just enough space inside yourself to know that the flame is yours to tend. Begin with the place where the body tells the truth before the mind has finished explaining. Your forehead. You may not have realized how much effort lives there. The slight pull above the eyes, the concentration that continues after there is nothing left to solve. The invisible habit of trying to think your way into certainty. For one moment, let the forehead soften. Not because every question has been answered, because this question does not need another answer right now. There is a difference. Your eyes may have spent the day scanning screens, numbers, messages, prices, accounts, faces, possibilities. Your eyes know what vigilance feels like. Let them rest in what is actually here. This room, this moment, this breath. No future calculation needs to pass through your eyes right now. Your jaw may have been holding decisions you never spoke. Okay aloud. Things you wanted to say no to. Things you said yes to too quickly. Things you are still deciding. Things you regret. Things you are afraid someone will ask from you. Let the jaw become less responsible for all of that. It was never meant to carry a budget. It was never meant to hold tomorrow in place. Let it be a jaw. Let it rest. Your throat may contain words you have swallowed. I cannot afford that. I need more time. I do not know yet. I need help. I changed my mind. I cannot do this for you. I need to think about myself too. Those are not cruel sentences. Some of them may be necessary sentences. Your throat does not have to become hard in order to speak them. You can be clear without becoming cold. You can be kind without disappearing. You can protect your flame without apologizing for the fact that it needs protection. Let your shoulders come down from the position they have been holding. You do not have to carry every possible outcome there. You do not have to carry the emotional weather of everyone around you. You do not have to carry every future expense before it arrives. You do not have to carry the consequences of decisions that have not been made. The shoulders can return to the body. Here, now, not next month, not next year. Here, your chest may still hold a little speed. That is all right. Nothing needs to be forced. You are not trying to manufacture peace. You are making room for it. There is a difference. The flame does not need to be commanded into stillness. It needs protection from unnecessary disturbance. Let the chest remember that. A little less bracing, a little less preparation for bad news that has not arrived, a little more room for the present. Your hands may be the part of you that knows responsibility most intimately. They open the bills, they type the messages, they make the payments, they work, they give, they receive, they sign, they carry, they reach. They sometimes grip. Look at what your hands have already done for you. Not perfectly, faithfully. They have handled what they knew how to handle. They have learned, they have adjusted, they have made mistakes, they have repaired, they have kept going. Your hands do not need to prove that you are worthy. They only need to serve the choice in front of you. One choice, not every choice. Let the stomach loosen around what it cannot predict. That may be one of the hardest places. The stomach often knows about money before the mind has finished reading the number. A drop, a twist, a small wave, an old message. Something is wrong. Something could go wrong. Be ready. But readiness does not always require tension. You can be ready because you know how to respond. You can be ready because you know how to ask for help. You can be ready because you know how to pause. You can be ready because you are learning to tell the truth about your capacity. You can be ready because you no longer believe every problem has to be solved alone. That is a different kind of readiness, less sharp, more grounded. The back may be carrying old duty, the idea that you must hold everything together. The idea that if you become tired, someone else will suffer. The idea that if you stop, something will fall apart. But even the strongest structure needs support. A beam is not weak because it rests on something. A person is not weak because support matters. Let your back remember that support is part of stability. Your hips and legs may hold the urge to run ahead, to get there before the problem, to arrive at the solution before the question is even fully formed. But you do not need to run into every future. You can walk. You can stop. You can turn around. You can decide that a road is not yours. You can take one step without knowing the 10th. The hearth does not move by panic. It remains steady enough to be returned to. Let your feet feel that. You are here. Whatever number is waiting for you later, you are here. Whatever conversation may happen, you are here. Whatever decision is still open, you are here. Whatever practical action is needed, you can meet it from here. This is the body learning what the mind has been discussing. Calm is not leaving reality. Calm is returning to where reality can actually be met. You cannot answer tomorrow from tomorrow. You can only answer from the present when tomorrow becomes today. Until then, the mind is often rehearsing. the body is paying for rehearsal. This is where the vow becomes physical. I tend my hearth before I carry flame. What does that look like in a body? Forehead softer before the calculation, jaw looser before the answer, shoulders lower before the request, hands steady before the payment, stomach given a moment before the decision, feet still before running towards someone else's urgency. This is how a metaphor becomes a way of living, not because you repeat it beautifully, because you recognize the moment when it applies. Someone calls. The old reflex says answer immediately. The hearth says check your capacity. A bill arrives. The old reflex says imagine every possible consequence. The hearth says read what is actually there. You want something. The old reflex says either buy it now or forbid it completely. The hearth says ask what is true. You make a mistake. The old reflex says punish yourself. The hearth says learn. Someone is disappointed. The old reflex says repair their feeling at your expense. The hearth says their feeling matters, and so does your boundary. You receive support. The old reflex says repay it before you have even received it fully. The hearth says let the oil reach the wick. That last one may be difficult. Receiving without immediate repayment. Receiving without guilt. Receiving without turning kindness into debt in your mind. Some of you have spent years trying to remain impossible to burden. You want to be easy, self-sufficient, low maintenance. You want to need little. You want to take up as little financial space as possible. This can look admirable from the outside. Inside, it can become a kind of loneliness. You may start believing that your needs are only acceptable after everyone else's have been handled, that your comfort is optional, that your rest is negotiable, that support is for people who need it more. But the lamp does not compare its need for oil with another lamp. It receives what keeps it lit. Your needs do not become illegitimate because someone else also has needs. Two truths can exist. Someone else may be struggling. You may still need to protect your stability. Someone else may deserve compassion. You may still need a boundary. Someone else may wish you could do more. You may still be allowed to do what is sustainable. This is not indifference. It is proportion. And proportion is one of the quiet foundations of peace. Panic tends to erase proportion. Everything becomes huge. Everything becomes urgent. Everything becomes permanent. A steadier mind restores size. This is disappointing, not devastating. This is difficult, not endless. This is expensive, not proof that everything is falling apart. This is uncertain, not impossible. This needs attention, not all of me. That last distinction matters. A financial problem may need part of your attention. It does not automatically deserve every hour of your day. You are more than the current problem. You may be a parent, a partner, a friend, a worker, a creator, a person who likes music, a person who laughs, a person who notices trees, a person who enjoys food, a person who has memories, skills, desires, curiosity, tenderness. Fear can reduce the whole self into a financial emergency. The hearth expands the room again. Yes, this matters, and so does the rest of your life. There is no wisdom in giving one problem the right to erase everything else. You can make room for both. The bill and the meal, the concern and the conversation, the plan and the walk, the uncertainty and the afternoon light, the boundary and the love, the difficult truth and the fact that you are still here. This is what calm can return to you, not money itself, access to your own life while money is being handled. That is precious, because there are people who spend years postponing their lives until they feel financially safe enough to begin living. They imagine a number. When I reach that, I will breathe. When I save that, I will rest. When I earn that, I will enjoy myself. When I pay that off, I will stop worrying. Sometimes a goal truly does reduce pressure. That is real. But the mind can move the finish line. There is always another possibility, another future need, another comparison, another standard. If calm is only permitted after total certainty, calm becomes impossible. So you practice earlier, not instead of practical progress, alongside it. You can build stability and still practice peace now. You can make a plan and still let your shoulders drop. You can work toward more and still respect what is here. You can want change without declaring the present unlivable. This is a healthier fire. It does not burn the current room down in order to warm a future one. It tends what is here. This is where the word enough needs care. Enough does not always mean I have everything I want. Enough does not mean every obligation is solved. Enough does not mean there is no pressure. Sometimes enough means enough information for this decision, enough time to take one next step, enough capacity to answer honestly, enough breath to stop before reacting, enough self-respect to say no, enough trust to wait, enough humility to ask, enough clarity to look again tomorrow instead of all night, enough oil for this part of the road. That kind of enough is not denial. It is measured. The anxious mind hates measured things because it prefers absolutes, always, never, everything, nothing, safe forever, ruined forever. Calm interrupts that language. For now, this much, this step, this truth, this choice, this moment. You may begin to feel why peace can seem magnetic without needing to become a magical claim. When you are less frantic, you may see options panic missed. You may ask better questions. You may hear information more accurately. You may negotiate more clearly. You may recognize an opportunity without desperation distorting it. You may notice when a deal is wrong for you. You may become less likely to agree just because you are afraid. You may become less likely to spend only for emotional relief. You may become more able to receive a good thing without immediately worrying that it will disappear. These are ordinary human effects of greater steadiness. They are enough. Peace does not need supernatural promises to be valuable. It changes your relationship with choice. That can change what becomes possible. Not guaranteed, possible. And possibility is where life opens. Panic narrows. Peace can widen. Panic says there is only one answer. Peace asks whether there may be another. Panic says, decide now. Peace asks what changes if you wait. Panic says, prove yourself. Peace asks what is true. Panic says, give more. Peace asks whether the source is tended. Panic says, do not disappoint them. Peace asks whether disappointing yourself has become a habit. Panic says, hold tighter. Peace asks what actually needs holding. These are different instructions. You are learning which one builds a life you can stay present for. There will be moments when fear still wins. That is not the end of the practice. Perhaps you will make a purchase from anxiety. Perhaps you will say yes too quickly. Perhaps you will avoid a number longer than you intended. Perhaps you will worry for 3 hours before remembering anything you heard here. Then remember, no punishment. Return. You do not make a flame stronger by scolding it for flickering. You tend it. This is becoming one of the central truths now. Tend instead of punish. Check instead of catastrophize. Ask instead of assume. Pause instead of rush. Protect instead of prove. Receive instead of apologizing. Respond instead of rehearse. These are small shifts, but small shifts change the atmosphere of a room, and the room is where your life happens. You may begin tomorrow in the same financial circumstances. That is possible. But if you meet them with a little more space, the experience can be different. Not easy. Different. That difference matters. The account may show the same number. Your identity does not have to collapse into it. The bill may still be due. Your breath does not have to become payment, too. Someone may still ask something of you. Your answer does not have to be purchased with guilt. An old regret may return. You do not have to pay interest on it forever. That is enough for today. You can carry this into the next ordinary moment. Before opening the banking app, before entering the store, before answering the request, before agreeing, before refusing, before sending money, before asking for money, before talking about money, before thinking 10 months ahead. You can ask, is my hearth tended? Not perfectly, enough? Is there enough steadiness here to choose? If not, perhaps the first action is not the decision. Perhaps the first action is returning. One glass of water, one slow breath, one walk across the room, one conversation with someone trustworthy, one night of sleep before deciding when the situation safely allows it. One written list of facts instead of 50 thoughts, one boundary, one question, one quiet moment. That is tending to. There is no single ritual required. The principle matters more than the method. You do not abandon the source while rushing to manage everything outside it. And now the words can become simpler, because the mind has heard enough explanation. The body has heard enough reasoning. The flame does not need a lecture. It needs a few true sentences. I tend my own light. I meet money with calm. I can pause before I choose. I can look at facts without attacking myself. My worth is larger than a number. My needs belong in the decision. My limits deserve respect. I can care without depletion. I can help without disappearing. I can receive without shame. I can wait for clarity. I can ask for support. I can change a plan. I can learn from a mistake. I can face what is real. I do not need imaginary emergencies. I can respond to what is here. I can protect my peace. I can protect my resources. I can protect my time. Oh, I can protect my energy. Protection is not punishment. Boundaries are not rejection. Rest is not carelessness. Calm is not denial. I tend before I carry. I pause before I promise. I check before I give. I breathe before I decide. I can say yes honestly. I can say no honestly. I can ask for time. I can ask questions. I can look again tomorrow. I can stop when enough thinking has been done. My mind does not have to solve every future. My body does not have to hold every possibility. My hands only need the next task. My feet only need the next step. My eyes only need what is here. My hearth is part of the plan. My peace is part of the plan. My health is part of the plan. My limits are part of the plan. My life is part of the plan. I am willing to meet money with a little more calm. I am willing to choose from steadiness. I am willing to receive support. I am willing to respect enough. I am willing to return. Return to the facts. Return to the breath. Return to the boundary. Return to the source. Return to the flame. You do not have to race. You do not have to prove. You do not have to burn brighter for everyone else. You can tend what is yours. You can protect what is yours. You can respect what is yours. Then carry what is truly yours to carry. No more than that. No less than that. A steady flame. A clear choice. A true answer. A protected hearth. And your own light still here is enough to begin from. You do not need a brighter flame before you are permitted to trust yourself. You do not need a larger account before you are permitted to speak to yourself with dignity. You do not need perfect certainty before you are permitted to make one grounded choice. The mind may still try to move ahead. That is what it has practiced. It may ask what happens next month. What happens if something changes? What happens if someone needs you? What happens if income shifts? What happens if a plan fails? You do not have to answer every question merely because the mind knows how to ask it. Some questions belong to information you do not have yet. Some belong to decisions that have not arrived. Some belong to another person. Some are only fear trying to turn possibility into responsibility. Your task is not to solve all of them. Your task is to know which flame is actually in your hands. This one, this day, this choice, this amount, this conversation, this boundary, this next honest step. That is where your power becomes practical again. Panic often feels powerful because it moves quickly. It produces thoughts, plans, warnings, scenarios, corrections. It creates the sensation that something is being done. Yet activity is not always progress. A mind can run for hours and never leave the same circle. Calm looks less impressive. It stops. It looks. It separates. It decides what belongs here. Then it acts. This is why peace may eventually become more useful to you than panic. Not because peace commands the future, because peace can help you meet the future without spending yourself before it arrives. There is a difference between preparing for tomorrow and sacrificing today to tomorrow. You can prepare, you can save, you can learn, you can ask for advice, you can organize what needs organizing, you can make a difficult call, you can change habits that are no longer helping. You can create a plan. And after the useful action has been taken, you can stop. That last part matters. Stop. Let the decision remain made. Let the message remain sent. Let the payment remain paid. Let the question remain asked. Let the answer remain pending if it is pending. Let tomorrow remain tomorrow. You do not have to keep touching every problem after your part, for today is complete. The hearth teaches this too. A well-tended fire does not need frantic hands hovering over it every second. At some point, you trust the tending. You let the flame burn. Perhaps trust has been the quieter lesson beneath everything we have said. Not trust that nothing difficult will happen. Not trust that money will always arrive exactly when you want it. Not trust that every decision will work perfectly. Trust in your capacity to meet yourself when life changes. Trust that you can look again. Trust that you can adjust. Trust that you can ask for support. Trust that you can learn something you do not yet know. Trust that one wrong choice does not remove your ability to make another. Trust that a boundary can be repaired if you realize too late that one was needed. Trust that receiving help does not make you less capable. Trust that resting does not make you irresponsible. Trust that you do not have to keep yourself frightened in order to remain awake to your life. That kind of trust can be built quietly, one decision at a time. You may not feel it every day. That is not required. You are not trying to reach a permanent emotional state. You are building another path back to yourself. Fear may still be the first voice sometimes. It does not have to be the final voice. Panic may still knock. It does not own the hearth. An old memory may still make a number feel larger than it is. You can return to the present facts. Someone's disappointment may still make you question your boundary. You can return to your capacity. A purchase may still bring regret. You can return to learning. A delay may still make you imagine the worst. You can return to what is known. The practice is not never leaving calm. The practice is remembering the way back, and you know more of that way now. The path is not mysterious. It begins with truth. What is actually happening, then proportion. How large is this problem really, then ownership. What belongs to me, then capacity. What can I truly do, then choice. What is the next honest step? And after that, when possible, release. Not because you stopped caring, because care does not require endless mental contact. You can put something down without abandoning it. You can return tomorrow. The mind may need to hear that more than once. I can return tomorrow. There are matters that deserve tomorrow's attention. They do not automatically deserve tonight's peace. There are matters that deserve next week's planning. They do not need this afternoon's nervous system. There are possibilities worth preparing for. They do not need to become today's emergency. You can respect the future without living inside it. You can respect money without fearing its every movement. You can respect responsibility without turning responsibility into punishment. And you can respect your own flame enough to ask whether the way you have been carrying life is sustainable. This brings us back to the question we left beside the hearth. What happens when the lamp no longer believes it must prove its value by burning itself empty? Something changes. The lamp does not become useless. It becomes wiser about its light. It learns that brightness and depletion are not the same thing. It learns that giving everything at once is not the highest form of giving. It learns that a steady flame can serve longer than a dramatic blaze. It learns that being needed is not the same as being loved. It learns that being generous is not the same as having no limits. It learns that keeping enough oil for itself is not an act against anyone else. It learns that its value was never measured by how close it could come to going dark. You may need that lesson too. You do not have to exhaust yourself to prove your goodness. You do not have to spend beyond comfort to prove love. You do not have to rescue every person to prove your heart. You do not have to deny every desire to prove discipline. You do not have to remain tense to prove that money matters. You do not have to sacrifice your inner stability to prove that you are responsible. Your worth does not increase as your reserves disappear. Your goodness does not become more convincing when you are depleted. A flame does not apologize for having a source. Neither must you. This may change the way you understand receiving. If the lamp receives oil, it is not taking something away from the concept of generosity. Receiving makes continued light possible. There may be moments when life gives through another person, a kind word, useful information, a referral, a meal, a discount, a chance, a conversation, a professional who helps you understand something, a friend who listens, a family member who shows up, a moment of rest, an unexpected solution. You do not need to turn every form of support into evidence that you are incapable. You can let help be help. You can let care reach you. You can receive without immediately calculating what must be returned. Healthy exchange is not always immediate. Life contains seasons. You give here. You receive there. You know something today. Someone else knows something tomorrow. You carry one part. Another person carries another. The hearth was never meant to prove isolation. It was meant to teach stewardship. Your light is yours to tend. That does not mean you tend it alone. Sometimes tending means accepting another pair of hands. Sometimes it means asking a qualified person to help you understand a financial question you cannot solve by yourself. Sometimes it means speaking openly with someone you trust instead of carrying fear privately. Sometimes it means admitting that the situation has become too much for one person to manage without support. There is strength in accurate self-assessment. There is strength in knowing when your own knowledge ends. There is strength in seeking the right kind of help. Peace and practical support belong together. The flame is not strengthened by pretending the oil is full when it is not. Truth first, then care, then action. You can carry that order with you. Truth and care, action. Not panic, punishment, action. Truth, care, action. What is true? What would care look like here? What action belongs next? Sometimes the action will be strong, sometimes soft, sometimes immediate, sometimes delayed. Sometimes it will involve money. Sometimes the deepest action will be refusing to spend more emotional energy on something already handled. You will learn the difference by practicing. And the practice does not need to look impressive. One fewer account check, one slower answer, one honest no, one request for information, one bill opened without self-attack, one purchase considered without shame, one evening not spent rehearsing catastrophe, one moment of receiving without apology, one decision made after your body has settled enough to hear you. These are real changes. They may not create dramatic stories. They create steadier lives. There is another old belief you may be ready to loosen. The belief that panic keeps bad things away. It cannot. Panic can alert you. Sometimes that alert contains useful information. Once the information has been received, you can decide what to do. You do not need to keep the alarm ringing after you have heard it. A smoke alarm has a purpose. A smoke alarm that never turns off becomes another problem. Your inner alarm deserves the same discernment. Thank you. I heard you. Now let me look. What is actually burning? Sometimes nothing is burning. There is only uncertainty. And uncertainty can feel uncomfortable without being an emergency. That distinction can return hours of life to you, maybe more. You can let uncertainty sit without immediately filling it with disaster. I do not know yet. That can be a complete sentence. I am waiting for information. Complete. I need time. Complete. I cannot answer today. Complete. This may change. Complete. I will look again when there is something new to look at. Complete. There is peace in letting a sentence end. An anxious mind keeps adding clauses. I do not know yet, but what if I am waiting, but maybe I need time, except they might. You can end the sentence sooner. I need time, period. The flame steadies. You may find this simplicity almost unfamiliar. That is fine. You are not trying to become simple-minded. You are refusing unnecessary complexity. One problem does not need 10 imaginary companions. One decision does not need a trial. One boundary does not need a speech. One mistake does not need a lifetime sentence. One uncertain day does not need to define your future. Bring things back to their true size. That is one of the quiet gifts of calm, true size. Not smaller than reality, not larger, true size. A number is a number, a feeling is a feeling, a thought is a thought. A boundary is a boundary. A decision is a decision. You are still you. The hearth is still yours. The flame is still yours. Your next choice is still available. Let the words become shorter now. You have done enough thinking. You have carried enough explanation. Let the flame receive simpler language. I meet this moment. I tend what is mine. I respect what is real. I do not invent more danger. I can pause. I can ask. I can wait. I can choose. I can change course. I can receive. I can decline. I can rest. I can learn. I am more than a number. I am more than a mistake. I am more than one season. I am more than one decision. My worth remains. My dignity remains. My choices remain. My voice remains. My hearth remains. I tend my own light first. I meet money with calm. I do not need perfect calm. I need enough calm to see, enough calm to listen, enough calm to choose, enough calm to tell the truth, enough calm to respect my limit, enough calm to take the next step. I can meet what is here. I can leave tomorrow alone. I can let solved things stay solved. I can let pending things remain pending. I can let another person's feelings belong to them. I can care without carrying everything. I can give without disappearing. I can keep without guilt. I can receive without shame. I can protect the source. I can protect the flame. I can protect my peace. My peace has value. My time has value. My attention has value. My energy has value. My resources have value. My needs have value. My limits have value. My life has value. I do not need panic to prove that. I do not need depletion to prove love. I do not need fear to prove responsibility. I do not need suffering to prove seriousness. I can be responsible and steady. I can be careful and calm. I can be generous and boundaried. I can be hopeful and realistic. I can want more and respect what is here. I can prepare and still live today. I can plan and still breathe. I can care and still rest. I can tend before I carry. I tend my hearth before I carry flame. The words can remain with you without effort. No repetition is required, no performance. The mind has heard them, the body has heard them. You can return when you need them. There is no final test, no proof that you understood, no promise you must make beyond what feels true. The hearth does not demand a ceremony. It waits where it has always waited, at the source. The next time the phone is in your hand and you feel the urge to check again, perhaps there will be one small space before you open it. The next time someone asks something of you, perhaps you will feel your own capacity before you answer. The next time a number creates a wave through your stomach, perhaps the wave will no longer be mistaken for prophecy. The next time you regret a decision, perhaps you will ask what it can teach instead of what it proves about you. The next time support arrives, perhaps you will let some of it reach you. Not because these things are guaranteed, because another response is now available. That is enough. Another response, another path, another way to meet the same human realities. You do not have to wait for life to become completely safe before practicing safety inside yourself. You do not have to wait for abundance before treating yourself as worthy. You do not have to wait for every financial problem to disappear before giving your nervous system moments of peace. You can begin with the lamp you have, the oil you have, the hands you have, the knowledge you have, the support available now, the truth of this moment. Then build from there. One practical choice, one protected boundary, one honest conversation, one measured response, one moment of rest. This is how panic begins losing its authority. Not because it is defeated in one dramatic battle, because it is no longer obeyed automatically. It speaks. You listen for information, then you decide. That is different. It may be the beginning of a very different relationship with money, one in which money matters without becoming your identity, one in which planning matters without consuming every quiet hour, one in which giving remains beautiful because it is no longer confused with self-erasure, one in which receiving becomes possible, one in which mistakes become teachers rather than verdicts, one in which boundaries protect love instead of threatening it, one in which peace has a seat at the table before everything is perfect. This is what the titles promise can truly mean. Calm does not become a magical money magnet. Peace does not command financial outcomes, but panic can repel clarity. It can repel patience. It can repel proportion. It can push away the inner space needed to recognize options, ask questions, hear boundaries, receive support, and make thoughtful choices. Peace can make room for these things. And what has room can sometimes grow. self-trust, discernment, patience, better questions, healthier limits, a clearer relationship with what is enough, a greater ability to receive, a steadier capacity to act. These are real forms of wealth too, not substitutes for money, part of a life that money alone cannot build. You deserve a life that contains both practical care and inner care, a life where numbers can be faced, and where numbers do not decide whether you are allowed to feel human, a life where you work toward what matters and still inhabit the day you are living, a life where you can say, "This needs attention," without saying, "Therefore I must suffer until it is solved." A life where you know how to return to the hearth. The flame may be small some days. Tend it. The flame may feel strong. Tend it. There may be more oil than you expected. Receive it. There may be less. Use it wisely. There may be a journey ahead. Prepare. There may be no journey today. Rest. You do not need to carry the lamp just because you own it. You are permitted to set it down. You are permitted to sit beside it. You are permitted to receive its warmth too. That may be one of the most important things. You are not only the person who carries light, you are also someone who is allowed to live by it, allowed to feel its warmth, allowed to see your own path, allowed to stop using every gift only for everyone else. Your peace belongs to you too. Your resources belong in your own life too. Your care belongs at home too. This is the old rule of lamps remembered in a new way. Light your own. Tend the source. Then carry what can truly be carried. Not everything. Not everyone. Not every future. What is yours? Enough for this step. Enough for this day. Enough light to see what is real. Enough steadiness to choose. Enough self-respect to protect the flame. I tend my own light. I meet money with calm. I trust the next true step. I release what is not here. I release imagined emergencies. I release borrowed urgency. I release the need to prove. I release the need to predict everything. I return to truth. I return to proportion. I return to choice. I return to the hearth. Steady hands. Clear eyes. A softer jaw. A quieter chest. One true number. One true need. One true answer. Enough for now. The source matters. My peace matters. My limits matter. My life matters. I tend before carrying. I pause before promising. I choose before rushing. I receive before repaying. I breathe before deciding. I respect the flame. I respect the oil. I respect the journey. I respect the source. No proving. No burning empty. No borrowed panic. No imagined verdict. Only this moment. Only this flame. Only what is mine. A tended hearth. A steady light. A clear next step. Enough. All is well. The hearth is warm. The wick has what it needs. The flame does not have to prove anything. My own light is tended.